Very good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to today's uLaw webinar. Today's uLaw webinar topic is about how a legal firm can ensure a high quotient of BX, CX, UX, and PX, or otherwise what we call as the brand experience, the customer experience, the user experience, and the overall product experience, or the outcome of having engaged with your legal firm. Today's webinar is accredited for 1 hour of professionalism CPD credits in the provinces of Ontario, British Columbia, and New Brunswick. So I welcome everyone who's joined us today. This webinar is being recorded and will be available for you to consume as early as Monday next week in our YouTube channel. So you should feel free to check us out at youtube.com/uLawPractice. You should be able to use this particular title of how do you ensure a high BX, CX, UX, and PX for your law office as the title that you would use to get your 1 hour of professionalism credits by, of course, logging in to your individual website or portals provided by the individual law societies. I request you to mute your phone lines and use the chat window at any given time to ask us specific questions about today's webinar. Like every other uLaw webinar, today's webinar has a specific agenda. We're going to be talking about the definitions, the high-level definitions of these various experiences that we're looking to talk as topics today, starting with the branding experience. What does that mean? What does that mean to your firm, as well as what does that mean to the end customer or consumer of the services that your firms offer? The user experience, and we'll talk about the customer experience, and of course, the overarching product experience, which is nothing but an amalgamation of these previous 3 experiences put together with the outcome of that experience. The importance of branding, how a legal firm has the opportunity to best represent not only the firm's visual identity, but also to be able to project the persona and the belief system of the firm to a much larger audience through that a well-defined and designed branding guideline experience. Okay, so we're going to talk about the importance of not only defining it the first time, but also considering a branding refresh if you've been in business for a considerable amount of time. One of the most important aspects of the whole branding experience is to not only define, build it, and deliver it, but also to deliver it in a very consistent, meaningful way. For example, you don't want your logos to be very different in different individual correspondences that you have with your customers. You don't want your invoice carrying a different logo. You don't want your statement of activities carrying a much older logo. Maybe the colors are different. Maybe the overall taglines are different. So one is to build these design guidelines for branding experience. But the second most important thing is to walk the walk of automating, or at least ensuring there is a consistent methodology used by a firm to have a consistent experience for your customers. So that's where we believe the aspects of practice management and legal accounting software helps, where it truly facilitates the automation of that process. Okay, so it's really building a consistent way that creates definitely a foundation and a reputation for your firm across your customer base. Okay, so let's get started Let's start with the first definition of what a brand experience is about for a legal firm. So the brand experience, at least to begin with, we believe, is your first step as how you represent your firm to your clients. Okay? So once again, for those who did join us a little bit late, today's webinar, as you can see, I have mentioned that in our chat window as well. It has been accredited for 1 hour of CPD credits, and the title of today's webinar is How Do You Ensure a High Quotient or BXEX, UX, and PX is High for Your Law Office. So this is the title, 1 hour of professionalism CPD credits in the provinces of Ontario, British Columbia, and New Brunswick. So going back to our brand experience, so really that's our first goal as a legal firm, to be able to provide a well-defined, designed brand experience that, of course, has a unique visual entity or representation quotient to that branding, but also is an opportunity, as I mentioned, to define your persona, your individual thought process, what you bring to the table as a legal firm, including your competencies and your values. And the brand gives you the opportunity to reflect all of these qualities in a very visually appealing brand reputation perspective. When you think about a brand, you also want to keep in mind that you want to build something that imprints confidence in the minds of your clients, which includes your values, your competencies, the visual representation, but also imprinting the level of service excellence that you and your team can deliver. Okay, so 3 or 4 important aspects to consider when you're looking at brand experience: the visual entity, the values that you as your firm provide, the competencies that you excel in, and the ability to imprint that with confidence about your service excellence. And then we move on to what we define as a customer experience, is something that you keep in mind after the brand experience. And what is this customer experience? As a legal firm and as a growing firm, small, medium businesses often depend upon referral businesses for one customer to be able to refer your name to a friend or a colleague or someone else that they know. So for that referral businesses, one of the most important fundamental components is that you offer that first customer a phenomenal experience that sticks with them right through the engagement with your firm. And that experience has now empowered them to be confident to refer you and your service to someone that they know, who they believe can benefit from this high quality of service that they have received for a similar need, right? And if that is the case, and we're finding with small businesses, especially in the legal industry too, it's very important to consider the referral aspect of it as an important source of contact or a very important marketing channel for you to nurture. And if you're going to do that, this particular quotient of that customer experience is something very significantly that you need to keep in mind. How do I offer a memorable, phenomenal customer experience? And this begins right from the time of engagement and continues through until the delivery of that final closing or statement of letter. Okay? So it's from cradle to grave of that entire experience that that client has had with your firm, right from the time the client walked in or engaged with your firm, whether that was a phone call, through the website, an in-person consultation, Maybe they met you at a conference. So with every step of the way, it's important that both you and your colleagues in that legal firm imprint that level of sophistication, confidence, professionalism, and really imprinting that confidence of service excellence. As we say, it's perceived by the customer in the in-person welcome, making sure that it's a warm, meaningful conversation that you have with every prospective customer that walks into your office, every phone conversation that you have or your frontline staff have, every retainer letter, the level of professionalism. We talked about how you can automate and be consistent across all the different touch points, including important documents such as the engagement or retainer letter, and through all the documentation and consultation that that customer has a touch point with. Okay, so customer experience is key. The brand experience helps define who you are as a company, allows you to market the brand, provide that required exposure to your firm. And once you've done that, once you've done the talk, you've got to walk the walk, then you have to follow through on the different components, starting with a phenomenal customer experience. There's a slight segue to talk about user experience. So what is the user experience? Who is the user? How does that even relate to a legal firm? It almost seems that the user experience seems to be a very IT nomenclature, if you will, right? But we've taken that nomenclature of what that user experience is. So if you were to take a second, in today's software world, you've often heard of this term of user experience. You are a current user of various software programs, whether that's gaming applications on your phone, whether it's the uLaw product that you use day to day for your legal accounting, whether that's your email, your Google Chrome, your Netflix, whatever it may be, your YouTube. You are users, and you are used to a certain level of experiences using these various software programs. So what do you expect out of these brands and the experience of you being a user of that brand? You expect that experience to be convenient. You want that experience to be anytime, any device available. You're looking at both online, offline capabilities. So you as a user are used to a certain level of sophistication in the user experience, and you're expecting more and beyond that with all the new brands that you engage with. So if you were to extrapolate that to your legal firm situation as a business, you have to start thinking about what your customers, who are now the users of the various services that you offer and the service touch points that you offer through the life cycle of that particular matter that you're dealing with, or it could be multiple matters that you're dealing with. Okay? So this truly is the multi-touch point experience that your client receives through the engagement across the various services that your legal firm offers them. Does your client get a feel for the consistent service levels? Do they get an experience that you have their back to win this matter for them? Do they get a sense of you being responsible in providing timely answers to their questions? Are you able to provide them with the level of convenience that they are used to as well as consumers of other products and services in today's marketplace? So a great example of that is, do you offer your clients the ability to have a self-serve payment option. So if this particular user of your firm's service, who also happens to be your customer, or may not be, right? Like if you have a simple website that intakes all of the information and provides a very seamless client intake process, that could be a very first step, providing that great experience to your customer, and they feel very convenient to work with your firm. There are some customers who want the 21st century legal firm to work with. Do you offer, again, when we spoke about the self-serve, there are firms today that offer the end users the ability to pay for both retainers as well as any general payments that they make towards the business through a click of a button. You don't have to walk into the firm to swipe a debit card or a credit card. You may be offering this over phone, but then it comes down, various different aspects. How secure are all your touch points? So this is what we believe is a differentiator in a firm when it comes to the user experience. And last but not the least, we talk about product experience. As I mentioned earlier, we believe this is an amalgamation of the other three experiences that your customers have had put together. So a fantastic brand experience to begin with, a customer experience across various different touch points with various different individuals in the firm, being very consistent, finding easy, modern, convenient ways to engage with your firm, providing a high quotient of a user experience. And the fourth, of course, is being able to ensure a high quality service outcome, ensuring that there was a success ratio associated with all of this experience, whether that's winning the case or helping them out with that situation, whatever it may be. And finally, as part of that product experience is your ability as a legal firm to offer that same consumer or customer in this case other options that they may consider coming back to you for consultation. Right? So as a legal firm, do you provide a broad spectrum of service offerings under the same umbrella of a consistent, professional, high-quality experience platform that you otherwise offer? For example, if a client worked with your firm for, let's say, a family law matter, or it could be a real estate matter, okay, and they've had a great experience right from brand to customer to user, great brand to recognize, easy to remember, gives them the confidence that you can get the job done, imprints that confidence of service quality. Once they entered the office to deal with you, or when they dealt with your website, or when they made that phone call, they felt the warmth of the individuals that they dealt with. Very consistent message and branding right across all of the documents that they've had to deal with. And on top of that, timely responses through various different channels of correspondence. Could be text, WhatsApp, email, mail, having a portal available for customers to go look at status at any time. The ability to provide self-serve payment options where you send them a document for e-signature and clicking a link to go pay for that service, top up a retainer, for example, providing a timely digital invoice as well as a receipt. See, these are all of the aspects of the experience. Now, the fact that they had that experience towards that real estate matter, the next time they have personally a need for, let's say, a family law matter, maybe it's a separation, maybe it's wills in a estate, knowing that your firm does offer that also, let's assume that your firm does provide that variety of service, you can take a bet that, if you provide a great experience, that they're going to come back to you for a different area of practice as well. Okay? So this is what we call as the product experience. It's not only the various brand customer user experiences, but using them as a fundamental platform to offer high quality service, but also a variety of such high quality services. Okay? And for those who just joined us, once again, welcome to today's uLaw webinar. This webinar is being recorded and it's been accredited for 1 hour of professionalism CPD credits in the provinces of Ontario, British Columbia, and New Brunswick. And we've just got started with the topic, how do you ensure a high quotient or a high brand experience, customer experience, user experience, and the last slide we looked at was product experience. So these were some of the high-level concepts and definitions of what these experiences mean and what they can mean to you as a legal firm, and at the end of the day, what they can mean to your end customers. Now let's look at each of the individual experiences in a deeper dive and maybe have some pragmatic use cases or examples that we could relate to as a consumer as well, so that at the end of today's session, hopefully you're able to take back certain tips and tricks of the trade that allow you to make those little tweaks in your current processes to help improve any one of these 4 experiences, if not all. Starting with the brand experience, we spoke about how important this is because the brand, of course, cognitively plays a huge role in motivating your prospective clients to work with your legal firm, to engage with your firm to begin with, right? Because it's a big step to look professional and build a strong reputation. And what we believe, fundamentally, there are 2 major components to it, right? One is to have that visual entity, whether that could be a logo, this could be a tagline, this could be unique color combinations, it could be your last name, it could be a combination of 2 last names if there are partners involved, right? There's also of course, a uniqueness to how you define these names and the kind of brand experiences that you want to provide. But it's important to think it through so that you can get it right, especially if you're a new and up-and-coming legal firm. Now, if you're a legal firm that's been in the business for a while, you should keep in mind that there's absolutely nothing wrong in what they call it as a brand refresh. Every major brand that we have dealt with as a consumer on a day-to-day basis has, in some shape or form, defined or redefined their brand experiences, starting with large retail conglomerates, right from Reebok to Nike, the colors they've used. It's been seasonal sometimes. It all really comes down to many other factors, but many brands. Retail outlets, you could have, food consuming products that have changed their brands. So it's totally okay to have a brand refresh, but it should be a very conscious decision to reflect once again the core value of the company and the business and what it reflects. Sometimes branding as an exercise is done, or a refresh to these branding is done, keeping in mind the easiness of marketing this in today's digital ecosystem. So maybe you had this very long brand name, and it's just impossible for you to be able to digitally market this as a quick banner ad or a Facebook ad or a LinkedIn ad or any of those. So in all pragmatic reasons, you can even define that and change that long last name to just a combination of initials as the new name of the firm with the new branding. And we've seen that with many legal firms that we work with as well. When it comes to branding, again, just a quick segue to that as well. Social branding and the branding business is something that we believe legal firms really need to revisit and optimize. Of course, many legal firms in today's market have understood the value of a digital presence. So a good majority of new law firms or legal firms that start do have a website that clearly articulates the individuals in the firm, their core values, what they bring to the table, the competencies are also available. And certain firms go one step further to also provide the ability to capture reviews from previous clients to make it easier for new customers to read that. And again, we spoke about how you can imprint that confidence. One is to be referred by somebody, but also to be able to provide these reviews that give you the confidence that you as a firm have dealt with other similar situations for other clients in this marketplace, right? So getting a 5-star review and those types of things that have become a prominent thing for legal offices as well. And we spoke about once that brand definition is done, once you've defined the visual entity, and now you combine that visual entity with the core values of you, your firm, the competencies that you offer. Because often we see legal brands having a certain expertise associated with the branding itself, right? So we've seen, if it's a corporate legal office, we've seen examples where we get corporate law, or we get the job done could be another example for corporations. Or if your expertise is around Highway Traffic Act, we've often seen advertisements both on radio, digital, print, which clearly imprints that you are experts at POA. Maybe you're good at employment law, maybe you're good at criminal law. So core values, maybe you're a firm that deals with legal aid, and that's all you do, and that's what you represent as a individual firm or a legal representative, and you can use that in your branding as well. Okay. So once that's been done, then we look at how do I repurpose this branding for two major reasons. One, from a marketing standpoint, where can I redefine this branding that I've done for my firm to use it for, as I mentioned, for social, print, other branding experiences, marketing platforms to get the word out so that my specific target audience can start to reach out to me for that initial pre-consultation. And why I say that is when you define these brands, and if you're very specific to, let's say, 3 or 4 areas of practice, at least for now, you have to choose that so that you have a very focused and targeted window of opportunity to market your services to. Okay, so really building not only your individual persona, having a buyer persona based on the areas of practice that you focus on could be a very important exercise. Who are those individuals who would most benefit from the services that you have to offer? Right? That's what we define as buying persona, and that's the exercise that every business does in today's context. Okay, so marketing is one aspect of why branding is important and where it's being used. The second aspect is, as I mentioned, is a segue between brand to the customer experience. Because it's great, you've done all the due diligence, you've done a fantastic marketing, and you've got what you wanted, you've got the exposure, someone just trusted you and walked into your office, and you suddenly don't want to cut off that brand experience. You don't want a lousy experience after all the hope that you had provided through a fantastic brand experience, right? This is where a combination of the right tools and training empowers you to provide that very consistent experience of brand right from that first touch point or engagement for your customer. Because the brand represents, of course, the experience of not just the visual entity, but an important brand message. Right? And what are the tools that you could possibly use? So whether it's an email signature, you could have a brand experience with an email signature. So instead of having to type your name and your phone number every time, a very simplistic example is that of creating email signature with the brand in it. As naive and as simplistic as that sounds, we still find sometimes businesses, let me put it that way, don't necessarily do that very simple first step that allows you to be consistent and automated. Now, for the various other legal components of your business, exploring the use of the right tools, such as legal accounting, practice management tools, can help automate many of these brand experiences. So, for example, being able to upload that logo so that the retainer letter has the same logo, you don't have to change it. You just change it in one place and it reflects across all documents, right? From that initial engagement or retainer letter to that receipt, to the statement of activities, to the invoices, payment receipt for the invoices, all of those documents. Of course, there are other documents that the legal firm deals with that we often talk about in our webinars, and those are all the compliance nature documents that are either law society facing or CRA or other government body facing. Of course, those are not great examples where you can brand your firm's experience. Any customer-facing document is a fantastic opportunity for you to take advantage to brand the message. Of course, with the holiday season around the corner, great opportunity once again to be able to personalize these documents with the branding and with a seasonal message. That gives that bit of a personal touch. And we've taken this example of a Starbucks business as an example, and this could be for any business. This was just something that we decided to choose. A brand that many of us are used to. We've, of course, firsthand had an exposure to this brand, I hope. Starbucks is, of course, a reputed cafe or coffee place, or in eatery now, but coffee place predominantly across North America, across the globe, has become a global business. And we relate to Starbucks with a single, simple brand. This mermaid with a green background on a cup, right? So every time you see this mermaid with a crown with a green background, you pretty much know that that's the Starbucks brand you're dealing with. You do not confuse yourself that with a second cup or McDonald's, because each of these brands have their own branding. When you see the big M, it almost hits you that it's it's the McDonald's brand, so on and so forth. So some of these brands have done a fantastic job of just a visual entity that gives you the callback. So it's a memorable callback for you as an individual of what that brand was. and the experience that you went through across the various different Starbucks chains that you've been with. Okay? So really starting with a simple brand visual entity, and of course you could have a tagline associated with, like, we've taken Nike as an example. Nike has a tagline, right? Everybody knows the tagline. You could even put it in our chat window if you like. Just as a little trivia to see if you know what the Nike tagline is. It's 3 words. So something for you to think about when you're either designing your brand for the first time or you're considering a brand refresh. Then we move along to customer experience. We discussed that customer experience is really right from the first touch point when the customer, has a bit of an insight into your business, right? Before they walked into your office or actually saw you in person or spoke to you, they've just looked at your brand. They've looked at this logo, colorful, very engaging, the right platform to engage the right audience, fantastic. But this is really the first time they walk in, and this is where, you can do little things with a bit of interior designing if you have, making sure that you print the logo, have that stuck behind your front desk, or maybe have little station or marketing stationery that reflects the same logo, the same tagline, same color combinations, depending on how much of your budget allows you to. There are firms that also have, you can get as fancy as having chairs with the colors of the brand. We've seen that not only with legal businesses, but with other businesses that could afford it. Whatever is important to you based on the budget, whatever is important to you based on your style, right? But keeping in mind that you have a way to continue that brand into the office as well. And what gives you and the opportunity and what gives your customer the confidence is, believe it or not, those initial documentation touch points that you share with them, right? Making sure that this is, you can be a very eco-friendly firm. You could have, we've seen that now, where you have eco-friendly paper, you have eco-friendly different stationery. So there's different ways of, again, embedding or imprinting those thought processes that you have, the policies that you have, but having a very professional look at the document, making sure the brand is at the top left, you've got the address, it's easy to understand who they're dealing with, has a very consistent paging for each page so that it's easy for you to refer that page. Let's say you're in a phone conversation, giving it to them in a digital format that's easier for them to interact with if they're not necessarily in person. So maybe PDF rather than Word document, as an example. And if you go one step further, maybe to give them the concept of e-signature, if your firm is into that, and we'll jump into that next with the user experience. But yes, every touch point, including that retainer document, including that telephone conversation, right? Being warm, being welcoming, not going through the hoops of leaving a voice message, making sure that you're able to get back to them in time if they did leave a voice message. Self-explanatory invoices. Now, that's a big positive for any customer that goes through that experience. Not having to follow up, because this is one area where you can really differentiate yourself, because this is one of the areas where customers go back and forth. So having the right tools, again, my opportunity to interject the ability for legal accounting tools to give you that capability is a well-defined, elaborate, thorough, self-explanatory invoice. Especially if you've got trust money involved, adds to the convolution, right? Other important legal documents where you can build this customer experience, bill of cost, statement of activities. Of course, very important, right? If you're working with a corporate client, if it's individual client, yes, absolutely. But even if you're working with corporate clients, it becomes a very important document for you to consider. The statement of activity, which really outlines each and every transaction that's happened in that particular file or matter. Gives your customer the confidence that you've been very professional about it, especially when you're dealing with trust money, making sure that they are well aware of how much of trust money is still in the trust funds, what has been moved from trust to general, what was the reason for you to move the trust to general, etc. Right? So when you use business process automation techniques and tools, keep in mind that legal accounting practice management systems help you automate the brand experience and the customer experience across various different digital and print documents that you do deal with on a pragmatic day-to-day basis with your customers. So if we were to extrapolate that to the experience of a Starbucks once again, it's a customer experience is about that personalization and also being consistent. So being able to define not beyond, of course, it's Starbucks, but then being able to go one step further to personalize that. So this is a retainer letter that was specifically made for this customer, and there could be joint retainers. The letterhead could still have your brand. Of course, what changes are the names that are dealt with, the parties that are involved, the situation of the party, like how in this case it's a latte. In this case, this could be the area of practice, could be a POA. So having defined templates for various different experiences, one, of course, provides a consistent brand experience, customer experience to your customers. But two, if you were to really think about it, it reduces the cost of ownership of this legal firm, because you don't have to now put that effort to type that document every time. So if you can define what those 3 or 4 or 5 top areas of practice that you're going to focus on, build templates, 1 or 2 or 3 of these templates for each of these areas of practice, have that in your practice management tool, legal accounting tool, and as you enter these files, make sure that the appropriate category and documents are chosen so that the templates define you and you don't have to do that every time. So the retainer is where we extrapolate this, in this case, a retainer for a specific client for a family law matter is almost like personalizing a latte just about that brand experience. And it's consistent. So fantastic. So you've got these various experiences, very warm welcome. It's awesome to speak with your different staff. You as the legal representative have been very professional, very thorough in how you've dealt with your customer. All the documents are very consistent. It's given them the confidence. But then what's the X factor in that experience? And to us, and this is something we believe in as a company as well, is the user experience. A big X factor in today's day and age. Okay. I find we have friends who still want to understand whether this is a CPD webinar. I once again repeat that it is a 1-hour CPD for professionalism credits in the provinces of Ontario, New Brunswick, and British Columbia. So speaking about user experiences, as we believe certainly it's a game changer, it's that X factor. It, of course, increases the productivity of your office, but more importantly, leaves that memorable experience with your customer. We spoke about how there was, and I maybe mentioned this in a previous webinar, legal offices in certain cities where parking is an issue, especially if your office is in a part of downtown of a particular city where coming in person to have to deal with your legal office, it's just become that much more harder. has many times led to lost customers. Believe it or not, when you have options today, customers are finding for that little X factor to deal with your, especially if it's a new prospective customer that's never dealt with you, didn't come through reference, right? That's just another example of it. But in today's digital world, if you as a legal firm, unless it's thoroughly warranted, if you can provide a digital experience for your customers to engage with you, to supplement, of course, the in-person consultations as well, to make it easier and more convenient for your customers, now that's a user experience that they're going to thank you for, and there's something that's going to be remembered the next time they approach you for a different problem or refer you to a customer, saying, hey, it's great firm, very professional, and by the way, extremely convenient to work with, right? That's almost become the theme for today's generation, the generations to come. They want that factor of convenience, the factor of speed. There were the days when we were used to the internet just taking the modems, just taking forever to connect to the internet. And the speeds of that internet was not as fast as today. But today we're getting into an era of consumers who are so impatient with even a 4 or 5 second delay in loading of a page. We get impatient if that Netflix video buffers for an extra 5-6 seconds. We believe paying that $10 a month was a total waste, because out of all the 100 different movies we watched, that 101 film buffered for 10 seconds. And that's the day and age we're in. We're all becoming impatient, and that's the same buyer persona that you as a legal firm would have to keep in mind when you're dealing with these things. So convenience is, as much as I say it's an X factor today, it's almost a necessity for you to offer. Now, the levels of convenience could be maybe an X factor. How much are you willing to do to provide that convenient digital experience for your customers? You've digitized the documents, fantastic. Have you digitized the ability to sign on documents? One step further. Have you digitized all of your correspondences? Right? Maybe you're not dealing with mail anymore, and you've clearly articulated in your retainer agreement that you are only strictly going to deal with digital correspondences, and of course you've outlined the risks and benefits of that service communication channel. Then of course you've done a very professional, thorough job of representing your firm's policies to begin with. And your customers hopefully has read through that, agreed upon it, is totally on board with that, and hence enjoys that convenience that you offer, right? Being able to provide, again, the new buzz around legal firms is the ability for your firm to accept both trust and general funds through credit cards. What does that do? One, it removes a bit of paperwork and back and forth work, last-minute reconciliation problems for you and your firm personally. But on the other hand, it also gives you the flexibility to offer to your customers for them to be able to pay you in time, and the funds are received right away instead of you having to deal with bounce checks and other problems of other modes of payment. Makes it easier for you, makes it convenient for your customer. Of course, being in person, using debit cards and credit cards was a thing. Being able to embed a link for your customers to do that at their own leisure. You send a retainer letter with a link embedded in it. Your customer who's in Hawaii maybe opens that letter, digitally signs it, clicks on the link, and pays that $5,000 retainer through a Visa credit card. Doesn't get better than that. And right away, once you receive that payment, you get notified that that person has paid you for that particular file. You right away generate a payment receipt or a trust receipt and send them back via email. Thank you very much, sir. Here is your receipt. Thank you very much, ma'am. Here's your receipt. Job well done. great user experience. And it is going to leave a long-lasting footprint, we believe, of your business in the mind of your customer. We spoke about the holiday season nearing us, so right from every touch point, whether that's wishes for the holiday season, holiday greetings, you could use various different documents that, of course, outline that, right from cover letters. You could have envelopes that have this personalization, other letters and labels that you can generate, all using a consistent mode of delivery. And I do agree to some extent. I may be preaching to the choir here. This may be things that you already know, but many times, I guess as a community, for us to be able to share this and constantly revisit these things just helps imprint the need for ongoing communication and emphasis to do the right thing. So again, I thank you for your partnership and participating in today's webinar, though many of these things is something that you may already know. If something that you've learned new, please let us know via email or by text to our support. And of course, that would be very meaningful to us for us to work on better content moving forward. So what does that user experience look like when I were to take that Starbucks example? Fantastic. We still know that mermaid. You know it's Starbucks. So you know this is the legal firm you're dealing with in your case. Of course, it's a very personalized documentation for that client, for that situation. It's a very personalized latte because that's the drink that this individual has ordered. Of course, what's the convenience? You know that Starbucks today, or maybe one of the very first to introduce the ability for you to order coffee online. How insane is that, right? Gone are the days when we used to go wait in line at a cafe. Of course, we started off making our own coffee. We still do. But then we decided, okay, here's this great experience. We're going to go in person. But we're now entering an era where people want to be able to order that coffee right from their condo building and have a specific time when they'll pick it up even. Saying, I'll pick it up at 6:35 a.m. because they're in that much of a rush. It's right there, boom, very consistent. So consider your legal firm to be a franchise. You would have to automate and build a consistent platform for every task to be repeated with the same level of service quality and expectation from customers, right? You can't expect a Starbucks coffee to be having a McDonald's brand imprinted in a cup. That would be insane. That would be horrendous. So imagine if your legal firm were to be franchised. What would the tools, what would be the process, what would be the techniques you would use to do that is what you have to keep in mind. Okay? So that it's always consistent. What are the right tools you can use so that you're not putting manual effort in getting that outcome? So personalized, branded, but now gives you the option and the convenience of ordering it online. You have mobile apps you can download. There are coupons. So again, you can offer referral codes for your customers every time they refer you. There may be a little bit more of a product experience, but user product experience, making it easier for you to redeem points. So your customers may actually get a referral if they do refer your firm to their colleague, making it easier for you to do that, right? So that's what that user experience, of course, means. And finally, are the all-encompassing product experience. Great brand, love the brand, love the colors. It's imprinted in my mind. Every time I see those two alphabets, I know that firm. I worked with them, very professional, very thorough. All their documents were amazing. I paid for their retainer right from my trip in Hawaii. They sent me the receipt back. Awesome. My user experience, top of the charts. Now what? A very successful outcome of that experience. As simple as a POA matter, where possible, often we go to a legal representative as a consumer to help us consult and be that expert that helps us reduce points, right? could be reducing the fine, could be both. So that's the expected outcome of a POA matter, let's say speeding, or could be a stop, whatever that POA matter would be. I'm just being very trivial about this particular example, but I hope you get the picture. So I, as a consumer, approach a POA expert, and I've seen this brand all over my Facebook ad, that you're the expert when it comes to traffic tickets. We beat traffic tickets every day. That could be the tagline. You've got different examples. I'm not going to name any, but you've got examples that very much imprint. That's the only thing they do in life, because they're used to being that. So that's why I went to them, very thorough professional, right? Now, the overall product experience, they did reduce those points. Fantastic. So the outcome was very much as expected. Or actually, they delighted me as a customer beyond the expectations. So that's one aspect of the product experience. Having gone through all those experiences, the final outcome. Maybe you give them, as I mentioned, a referral code the next time they refer you to another friend or colleague. That's a great product experience of having worked with a business that's thanking you and is very grateful for your business, but is also, talking to you as a partner, saying, if you've liked our service, please to refer us. Or you've seen businesses often say, if you've liked us, kindly do leave a review on our social media, right? So if they've really impressed you, many times you are, in a way, forced to do that, or motivated to do that. Let's not even use the word forced. It's motivation that actually is more powerful than being forced to do something. So to be satisfied as a customer and feel the need that at the end of the day that the needs of the client were met, it's very important that you have strong business process and the right techniques and tools to have had walked that walk, including practice management and legal accounting software and tools. Another great experience of the product is, as I mentioned earlier, the variety of your service offerings as a firm. So did you introduce to that first customer who came to you for a real estate matter, how did you better market and introduce the other areas of practices that your firm offers? For example, you may mention it as part of your closing letter, saying, thank you so much for your business. If you may ever have the need for similar legal representative needs or other areas such as family, real estate, criminal, could be anything, right? Please do not hesitate to give us a call, or here's a card that you can reach us at. Thank you very much. Or maybe it's on your website, or maybe you create a personal customer login for this customer, and you earn the right to email them, of course, through with Castle for Canadian soil. You do have the anti-spam law, so it's very important that you earn the right to get their digital identity, their email or whatever, and be able to market there about these different experiences, or tell them through that branding experiences using those tools to help them be aware of the variety of services that you offer. So knowing that it's a great experience to work with your business and the fact that it was a fantastic outcome that they expected, knowing as well that you do offer other things, the next time they have a need or the next time they find that a friend or a colleague has a need, what do you think? They're going to be referring your name, saying, go talk to those guys. They know what they're talking about. And for my last slide on Starbucks for today, a great product experience is, of course, having all of what you've expected through the experience. The brand, that same green mermaid. You've got choice. So you walk into a Starbucks, you can see 10, 15, 20 years back, you probably didn't see as many convoluted English words on the menu as you find it today, right? Before, maybe it was just simple coffee and maybe cafe mocha, lattes, and here and that. But now you've got a variety of beverages and food that they offer. And what they're slowly embedding is, to you as a consumer, today you feel like drinking a latte, you love the Starbucks experience, you go to Starbucks. In Canada, of course, with the seasonal variation now that we're entering colder times, you have warm drinks. But if this is a Starbucks in Australia where it's hot, you're going to get into cooler drinks, but they've got that too. So if you were traveling to Australia, and this is, of course, a vague experience, or an example, but just think about that, right? So it's a different service, different product, but offered by the same business. Likewise, if I were to extrapolate that example into your legal firm, great POA experience can't wait for that next real estate experience to happen with that firm. That's really what it is. So providing clear, consistent message around branding and the choice of service levels that you offer, providing that same level of branding, same level of process, same level of service quality, really helps build your customer to be a brand ambassador. So, in short, how do I now ensure that I have a high level of these 4 experiences across my firm? Take a look over the weekend or next week or in the coming weeks as things do settle down slowly when you have the time at the different branding capabilities that you offer today. The various different documents where you have a consistent branding. If you don't have that, find the right tools that can help you define those. What is the level of training that's been provided? Now, is everybody in your team conversant with the policies and what you have to offer as a company? Maybe the tagline is, come in and feel welcome. And maybe the person who just joined has a bad day, doesn't necessarily reflect that brand value and is stern or rude. It's not going to leave a good impression with those customers who expect that brand exposure and the brand experience. So it's important to provide training to all layers of the firm so that it's very consistent behavior. Having the right tools to have consistent branding and documentation, and the right tools to help automate these processes, because that can reduce your total cost of ownership, improve productivity, and that means improving top line or your profit. Okay? And when you start to implement these, you're going to see an overwhelmingly positive feedback from customers. Of course, sets the path for success, both from current clients that you're serving as well as the brand ambassadors that you're converting them to be. And for those who don't know who we are, we're a humble Canadian company. We've been in business for about 9 years. We're a legal accounting, practice management, and a business accounting software company based out of Ottawa. Serving Canadian legal professionals is all we do. And if you're in the market looking for a tool that can help automate many of your business process, be compliant in a very cost-effective manner, please do reach us at ulawpractice.com. We do offer a no-obligation 30-day trial sign-up that allows us to give you what that experience of working with the uLaw product is. And if we've done well, we hope to serve you as our client. If you have feedback regarding today's webinar, or if you have feedback in general for any new topics that you would like for us to cover, please feel free to email us at support@uLawpractice.com. We're waiting to hear from you, and we're waiting to, of course, improve this webinar experience for all our friends and partners in this industry. So I'll now open the floor for any questions that you may have with regards to today's webinar. And once again, thank you very much for joining, and we look forward to your questions today. Thank you. Okay, we'll start with one of the unanswered questions. Sorry, I'm running through these slides fast. That is the name. The name of today's webinar, as you must have seen in our email as well, is how do you ensure BX, CX, UX, and PX is high for your law office? This is what you're searching for, or you're typing in when you're looking to redeem those 1 hour of professionalism credits in the provinces of Ontario, British Columbia, and New Brunswick. Yes, today's webinar is being recorded and will be available on our YouTube channel as early as Monday. Yep, if you've joined us late, absolutely, you can actually review the recorded video, and that should earn you the 1 hour as well. Well, if there aren't any further questions, once again, thank you for your time. Have a fantastic weekend, and happy November 11th, Remembrance Day, and stay warm. Thank you.